John had always enjoyed driving, especially on long trips. It was a way to relax, to disconnect from daily worries, and simply enjoy the scenery passing by the window. He and Stella, his wife, had been married for nearly a decade. Their relationship had its ups and downs, like any marriage. But lately, John felt a tension in the air that he couldn't quite explain. They were on their way to a country house, a trip that was supposed to be peaceful and relaxing. Stella suggested bringing along an old friend, Mark, claiming he needed a ride to an event in the same town. John agreed without much thought, as he and Mark had known each other for years. The journey started smoothly, with light conversations and occasional laughter. However, John noticed a different energy between Stella and Mark, something he couldn't fully define. Mark, a charming and confident man, sat in the back seat of the car. During the first part of the trip, the conversation revolved around old stories and future plans. Stella, who had always been a reserved woman, seemed more animated than usual. Her laughter was more frequent, and her hands touched Mark subtly but constantly. John, trying to push away any negative thoughts, focused on the road, but his eyes occasionally glanced at the rearview mirror. As they drove, John began to notice small signs that increased his suspicion. Mark frequently leaned forward, whispering something in Stella's ear, to which she responded with a smile and a sparkle in her eyes that John hadn't seen in a long time. Mark's hand occasionally rested on Stella's shoulder, lightly sliding down her arm. John's thoughts began to wander. He tried to convince himself that he was imagining things, that his mind was playing tricks on him. However, the chemistry between his wife and his friend was undeniable. He felt a mix of anger and, surprisingly, a strange excitement. The idea of Stella having fun in a way he had never seen before awakened something inside him that he couldn't explain. At one point, Stella suggested a stop at a rest area. They needed to stretch their legs and maybe grab something to eat. John parked the car, and the three of them got out. The atmosphere was charged with palpable tension. As they walked, John closely observed the interaction between his wife and Mark. They walked side by side, whispering and laughing in a way that seemed to exclude him. After a few minutes, they returned to the car. This time, Stella decided to sit in the back seat with Mark. John, behind the wheel, felt a pang of jealousy and a strange anticipation. What was happening behind him? He couldn't see clearly, but he could sense the closeness between them, the muffled laughter, and the whispers. The journey continued, but now, John was fully aware of what was happening in the back seat. He heard small gasps, stifled laughter, and the occasional sound of skin against skin. His heart beat faster, a mix of conflicting emotions overwhelming him. He wanted to stop the car and confront the two, but at the same time, a part of him wanted to see how far it would go. Stella and Mark were becoming increasingly bold. John saw in the rearview mirror when Stella leaned over Mark, their faces dangerously close. He couldn't hear what they were saying, but the looks they exchanged were enough to ignite a flame of desire mixed with jealousy within him. Mark whispered something in Stella's ear, and she laughed, a soft, sensual sound that John hadn't heard in years. John, trying to focus on the road, couldn't avoid the thoughts that came to mind. He wondered if what was happening behind him was something he truly wanted to stop. The excitement of thinking about the possibility of his wife exploring something new, something he had never seen in her before, was intoxicating. The trip that started as a simple journey to the country house was turning into something much more intense and complex. John was caught between anger and desire, between jealousy and excitement. Whatever was happening, he knew the dynamics of his marriage were changing forever. With the road stretching ahead and the tension in the air increasing with every mile, John drove, his thoughts swirling in a whirlwind of emotions, while behind him, his wife and his friend delved into a dangerous and seductive game. Stella's hand rested on Mark's thigh, their fingers intertwining in a way that seemed almost innocent but was loaded with erotic tension. John could hear their whispers, their breaths growing heavier. The car felt like a pressure cooker, every moment increasing the heat and the tension. Mark's hand slid up Stella's thigh, disappearing under the hem of her dress. Stella let out a soft, almost inaudible moan, her head tilting back slightly. John's grip on the steering wheel tightened, his knuckles turning white. He felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with arousal. He couldn't deny the thrill he felt watching his wife in this state. Her desires laid bare in a way he had never seen before. They hit a stretch of empty road, and John decided to push the boundaries further. He adjusted the rearview mirror to get a better view. Stella and Mark's faces were inches apart, their lips brushing against each other. John felt a surge of possessiveness, mixed with an undeniable excitement. He knew he should say something, should put a stop to this, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he found himself asking, "Are you enjoying yourselves back there?" Stella's eyes met his in the mirror, a mixture of surprise and defiance in her gaze. Mark didn't pull away. Instead, he smirked, his hand still firmly on Stella's thigh. "Why don't you join us, John?" he suggested, his voice smooth and confident. John's heart pounded. He had always fantasized about pushing the boundaries of their relationship, but he never thought it would happen like this. The idea of watching his wife with another man was both thrilling and terrifying. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. "I'm driving," he replied, his voice strained. Stella's eyes softened, and she leaned closer to Mark, whispering something in his ear. Mark nodded, and they continued their teasing game, their touches growing bolder. John could hear the rustle of fabric, the soft gasps and moans that filled the car. Every sound sent a jolt of arousal through him, making it harder to focus on the road. They reached a secluded spot, a small clearing off the main road. John pulled over, his hands shaking slightly as he turned off the engine. The silence was deafening, filled only with the sound of their heavy breathing. He turned to look at Stella and Mark, his heart racing. Stella's dress was hiked up, her legs draped over Mark's lap. Mark's hand was still on her thigh, his fingers tracing lazy circles on her skin. Stella's eyes were dark with desire, her lips parted as she looked at John. "Do you want to watch?" she asked, her voice husky. John swallowed hard. He could feel the heat between them, the raw, unfiltered desire that filled the car. He nodded slowly, his eyes locked on his wife. "Yes," he whispered. Mark's hand moved higher, disappearing under Stella's dress. She let out a soft moan, her head falling back against the seat. John watched, his breath catching in his throat. He could see the pleasure on her face, the way her body responded to Mark's touch. It was a side of her he had never seen, a side that excited him beyond words. As the tension in the car reached its peak, John realized that this journey was far from over. The road ahead was filled with twists and turns, with new boundaries to explore and old ones to break. And for the first time, he felt ready to embrace it all, to let go of his fears and dive into the unknown with Stella by his side. The unexpected journey had only just begun, and John knew that whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it. With Stella and Mark, he was ready to explore the depths of his desires, to push the limits of their love and passion, and to discover a new world of pleasure and excitement. The sun was beginning to set as they resumed their journey. The air inside the car was thick with tension and anticipation. Stella settled back into the front seat, her skin still flushed from the encounter, while Mark resumed his place in the back. John, his mind racing with the events that had just unfolded, started the engine and pulled back onto the road. The silence was charged, each of them lost in their own thoughts. John's mind was a whirlwind of emotions. He felt a strange sense of exhilaration, a thrill that he had never experienced before. The sight of Stella with Mark had awakened something deep within him. It was as if a door had been opened, revealing desires he had never known existed. As they drove, John couldn't help but glance at Stella. She seemed different, more confident, and more at ease. He reached over and took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. She looked at him and smiled, a silent understanding passing between them. They were venturing into uncharted territory, but they were doing it together. After a while, Stella broke the silence. "Mark, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself? We haven't had the chance to catch up properly." Mark leaned forward, his eyes glinting with amusement. "Well, where should I start? There's a lot you don't know about me, Stella." John kept his eyes on the road, but his ears were tuned into every word. He was curious about this man who had managed to stir such intense emotions in both him and his wife. "Why don't you start with what you've been doing since we last saw each other?" Stella suggested, her voice soft and inviting. Mark leaned back, his expression thoughtful. "I've been traveling a lot, exploring new places, meeting new people. It's been a journey of self-discovery, really. I've learned a lot about myself and what I want out of life." John felt a pang of jealousy mixed with admiration. Mark had always been a free spirit, living life on his own terms. It was something John had always envied about him. "Sounds exciting," Stella said, her eyes sparkling with interest. "Tell us more." Mark's eyes met John's in the rearview mirror, and he smiled. "Well, one of the most interesting places I've been to is a little town in the south of France. It's a place where people go to escape the pressures of everyday life, to explore their deepest desires without judgment." John's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He knew where this conversation was heading, and he was both excited and apprehensive. "It's a place where boundaries don't exist," Mark continued, his voice low and seductive. "People come there to experience things they've only dreamed of. It's liberating, really." Stella's breath caught in her throat. "That sounds incredible," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers. "It is. And it's something I think you and John would really enjoy. It's a chance to explore new sides of yourselves, to discover desires you never knew you had." John's heart was pounding. The idea was both terrifying and thrilling. He had always been curious about pushing the boundaries of their relationship, but he had never imagined doing something so daring. "Tell us more," Stella said, her voice filled with excitement. Mark's smile widened. "There's a place I know. A beautiful old chateau surrounded by vineyards. It's a place where people come to explore their fantasies in a safe and welcoming environment. It's discreet, luxurious, and the perfect escape from reality." John's mind raced with possibilities. The idea of escaping to a place where they could explore their deepest desires was incredibly appealing. He glanced at Stella, and he could see the same excitement in her eyes. "It sounds amazing," John said, his voice steady. "When can we go?" Mark's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Whenever you're ready. I can make the arrangements." Stella squeezed John's hand, her eyes filled with anticipation. "Let's do it," she said, her voice filled with determination. John nodded, his heart racing. He knew this was a turning point in their relationship, a chance to explore new sides of themselves and their desires. It was a journey they would take together, and he was ready for whatever lay ahead. As they drove into the night, the road ahead seemed filled with endless possibilities. The mysterious passenger in the back seat had opened a door to a new world of excitement and adventure, and John and Stella were ready to step through it. The days leading up to their trip to the chateau were filled with anticipation and excitement. John and Stella could hardly contain their enthusiasm. They talked about their plans, their fantasies, and what they hoped to experience. It was a chance to reignite the passion in their relationship, to explore new sides of themselves and each other. On the day of their departure, they packed their bags with a sense of excitement and nervousness. Mark had made all the arrangements, and they trusted him completely. As they drove to the airport, the atmosphere in the car was charged with anticipation. The flight to France was uneventful, but the excitement grew as they neared their destination. They arrived at the chateau in the early evening, the sun casting a warm glow over the vineyards. The chateau was even more beautiful than they had imagined, a perfect blend of elegance and luxury. Mark greeted them at the entrance, a warm smile on his face. "Welcome," he said, his voice filled with genuine happiness. "I'm so glad you decided to come." John and Stella followed him inside, their eyes wide with wonder. The interior of the chateau was just as breathtaking as the exterior, with luxurious furnishings and a warm, inviting atmosphere. It was the perfect setting for their adventure. Mark showed them to their room, a spacious suite with a view of the vineyards. "This will be your home for the next few days," he said, his voice filled with promise. "I want you to relax, enjoy yourselves, and explore your desires." John and Stella looked at each other, their eyes filled with excitement and anticipation. They knew this was a chance to rediscover each other, to explore new sides of their relationship and their desires. It was a journey they were ready to take together, and they couldn't wait to see where it would lead. As they settled into their room, John pulled Stella close, his eyes filled with love and desire. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Stella nodded, her eyes shining with excitement. "More than ready," she said, her voice filled with determination. John kissed her, deep, passionate kiss that left them both breathless. "Then let's start our adventure," he said, his voice filled with promise. As the night fell over the chateau, John and Stella embarked on a journey of discovery and desire, ready to explore the depths of their passion and the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. The first night at the chateau was a whirlwind of emotions. John and Stella lay in their opulent suite, the events of the day replaying in their minds. They had crossed a threshold, stepping into a world of uncharted desires and fantasies. The soft rustle of the vineyard leaves outside their window seemed to whisper promises of what was to come. Morning arrived with the golden glow filtering through the curtains. Stella stirred first, her body still tingling with anticipation. She glanced at John, who was already awake, watching her with a mix of tenderness and hunger. They shared a silent smile, moment of intimacy that spoke volumes about their journey ahead. "Good morning," John murmured, reaching out to brush a strand of hair from her face. "Good morning," Stella replied, her voice soft and husky. "Ready for our first day of adventure?" John's smile widened. "More than ready. Let's see what Mark has in store for us." After a leisurely breakfast on their private terrace, Mark joined them, looking as suave and confident as ever. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "Very well," John replied. "We're eager to see what's next." Mark nodded, a satisfied smile on his lips. "I thought we could start with the tour of the chateau and the surrounding vineyards. It's important to feel comfortable and relaxed in this environment. Later, we'll have a special session in the private lounge." John and Stella exchanged a glance, their curiosity piqued. They followed Mark as he led them through the sprawling estate. The chateau was a marvel of architecture and design, with every detail exuding luxury and sophistication. As they wandered through the halls and gardens, they felt a sense of enchantment, as if they had stepped into a fairy tale. The tour ended at a secluded part of the vineyard, where a small gazebo overlooked the lush landscape. Mark gestured for them to sit, and he joined them, a bottle of exquisite wine and 3 glasses in hand. "This place is magical," Stella said, her eyes wide with wonder. "It truly is," Mark agreed, pouring the wine. "It's a place where people can let go of their inhibitions and embrace their deepest desires." Speaking of which, tonight's session in the lounge is designed to do just that. John took a sip of the wine, savoring its rich flavor. "What can we expect?" Mark's smile turned enigmatic. "Let's just say, it's an experience designed to awaken all your senses. You'll be guided through a series of exercises and scenarios that will help you connect with each other on a deeper level." Stella felt a shiver of excitement run down her spine. "We're ready," she said, her voice filled with determination. The rest of the day passed in a blissful haze of relaxation and anticipation. John and Stella spent time exploring the chateau, enjoying its amenities, and indulging in each other's company. As the evening approached, they prepared for the session in the private lounge, their hearts pounding with anticipation. When they arrived at the lounge, they found it transformed into a haven of sensuality. The room was bathed in soft, ambient lighting, with plush cushions and silk drapes creating an atmosphere of intimacy and allure. A soft, melodic music played in the background, enhancing the mood. Mark greeted them with a warm smile. "Welcome to your first session. Tonight, we'll focus on awakening your senses and exploring new dimensions of pleasure. Trust the process, and let yourselves be guided by your desires." He led them to a comfortable seating area, where they sat facing each other. Mark handed them blindfolds. "For the first part of the session, you'll wear these. It will help heighten your other senses and deepen your connection." John and Stella exchanged a glance, their excitement palpable. They donned the blindfolds, feeling a thrill of anticipation. The darkness heightened their awareness of each other, and they could feel the electricity in the air. Mark's voice was soothing and reassuring. "Now, take each other's hands and focus on the sensations. Feel the warmth and texture of your partner's skin. Let your touch convey your emotions and desires." John reached out and took Stella's hands, his fingers gently tracing her palms. She responded in kind, her touch light and teasing. The simple act of holding hands felt incredibly intimate, and they could sense each other's heartbeat through their fingertips. Good, Mark said, his voice a calming presence. Now, explore each other with your hands. Discover the contours of your partner's body. Let your touch communicate your love and desire. With their blindfolds still on, John and Stella let their hands roam over each other's bodies. Every touch felt heightened, every caress electric. They could feel the tension and anticipation building between them, their connection growing deeper with each passing moment. Mark's voice guided them through a series of exercises designed to heighten their awareness and deepen their connection. They explored each other's faces, tracing the lines and contours with gentle fingers. They exchanged soft kisses, their lips brushing lightly against each other's skin. The experience was both exhilarating and profoundly intimate. As the session progressed, Mark introduced them to new scenarios, each one designed to push their boundaries and awaken new sensations. They took turns blindfolding each other and exploring their desires in the safety and comfort of the lounge. The experience was liberating, allowing them to shed their inhibitions and embrace their deepest fantasies. By the end of the session, John and Stella felt a profound sense of connection and intimacy. They had explored new sides of each other and discovered desires they had never known existed. They removed their blindfolds, their eyes meeting in a gaze filled with love and understanding. Mark's smile was one of satisfaction. "You've done wonderfully. This is just the beginning of your journey. There's so much more to explore and discover." John and Stella nodded, their hearts full of anticipation. They knew they had only scratched the surface of their desires, and they were eager to continue their journey together. As they left the lounge, hand in hand, they felt a renewed sense of passion and excitement. The night was still young, and the chateau held endless possibilities for exploration and pleasure. They were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that their journey was just beginning. The morning after their first session in the lounge, John and Stella awoke feeling a mixture of excitement and curiosity. Their senses were heightened, their bond stronger than ever. They shared a lingering kiss, the taste of each other a reminder of the night before. As they dressed for the day, they couldn't help but wonder what Mark had planned next. The anticipation was almost as thrilling as the experience itself. They met Mark in the dining room, where a lavish breakfast spread awaited them. "Good morning," Mark greeted them, his smile as warm as the morning sun. "How are you feeling today?" "Wonderful," Stella replied, her eyes sparkling. "Last night was incredible." John nodded in agreement. "It was like nothing we've ever experienced. We're eager to see what's next." Mark's smile widened. "I'm glad to hear that. Today, we're going to take things a step further. We'll explore the boundaries of trust and intimacy in a new way. Are you ready?" John and Stella exchanged a glance, their excitement palpable. "Absolutely," John said, his voice steady. "Excellent," Mark said. "We'll start with the session in the garden. It's a beautiful space, perfect for what I have in mind." They followed Mark outside, where the garden spread out before them in a riot of colors and scents. A secluded gazebo stood at the center, surrounded by lush greenery and vibrant flowers. It was a place of tranquility and beauty, an oasis of calm. Mark led them to the gazebo, where a comfortable seating area waited. "Today, we'll focus on trust and vulnerability," he explained. "You'll take turns being blindfolded and guided by your partner. The goal is to surrender control and allow your partner to lead you." John and Stella nodded, their anticipation growing. They trusted each other implicitly, and this exercise would deepen that trust even further. "Who would like to go first?" Mark asked. "I'll go," Stella said, her voice steady. Mark handed her a blindfold, and she slipped it over her eyes. John took her hands, guiding her to a comfortable position. Mark's voice was soothing and reassuring as he explained the exercise. "John, your task is to guide Stella through the garden using only your words and touch. Stella, your task is to trust John's guidance completely. Let go of any fears or hesitations and allow yourself to be led." John took a deep breath, his hand steady on Stella's shoulders. "Are you ready?" he asked. "Yes," Stella replied, her voice soft and trusting. "Good," John said. "Let's begin." He led Stella slowly through the garden, his voice calm and reassuring. "There's a step ahead. Lift your foot and step down carefully." "Good. Now, take 3 steps forward." Stella followed his instructions without hesitation, her trust in John absolute. She could feel the warmth of the sun on her skin, the soft rustle of the leaves in the breeze. Every sensation was heightened, every touch electric. John guided her to a bench, helping her sit down. "There's a bench here. Sit down and relax," Stella complied, her body sinking into the soft cushions. John's hands were gentle and reassuring as he traced the contours of her face, his touch light and teasing. "How do you feel?" he asked, his voice a whisper. "Safe," Stella replied, a smile playing on her lips. "I trust you completely." "Good," John said, his voice filled with love. "Now, let's explore a bit more." He continued to guide her through the garden, his touch and voice a constant presence. Stella felt a sense of liberation, freedom to surrender completely to John's guidance. She let go of any fears or hesitations, allowing herself to be led by her husband. When it was John's turn, he slipped the blindfold over his eyes, trusting Stella to guide him. Her touch was gentle and sure, her voice a soothing balm. She led him through the garden, her words and touch guiding him every step of the way. "There's a flower bed ahead," she said, her voice soft. "Step carefully around it." John followed her instructions, his trust in Stella unwavering. He felt a sense of vulnerability, a willingness to let go of control and be led by his wife. As they completed the exercise, they felt a profound sense of connection and trust. They removed their blindfolds, their eyes meeting in a gaze filled with love and understanding. "Well done," Mark said, his smile one of satisfaction. "You've shown a remarkable level of trust and vulnerability. This is an important step in your journey." John and Stella nodded, their hearts full of gratitude. They knew that this exercise had deepened their bond and strengthened their connection. The rest of the day was spent exploring the chateau and enjoying its many amenities. They swam in the pool, relaxed in the spa, and indulged in a gourmet lunch. Every moment was filled with a sense of adventure and excitement, a willingness to explore new experiences together. As evening approached, they prepared for the next session, their anticipation growing. They met Mark in the private lounge, where a new set of exercises awaited. "Tonight, we'll focus on exploring your boundaries and desires," Mark explained. "We'll use a series of exercises designed to push your limits and awaken new sensations. Trust the process and allow yourselves to be guided by your desires." John and Stella exchanged a glance, their excitement palpable. They were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that their journey was just beginning. Mark led them through a series of exercises designed to heighten their connection. They explored new sides of each other, discovering desires they had never known existed. The experience was both exhilarating and profoundly intimate, a journey of self-discovery and exploration. By the end of the session, John and Stella felt a renewed sense of passion and excitement. They had crossed new boundaries and awakened new desires, their connection stronger than ever. As they left the lounge, hand in hand, they felt a sense of fulfillment and anticipation. The night was still young, and the chateau held endless possibilities for exploration and pleasure. They were ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that their journey was far from over. The days at the chateau passed in a whirlwind of sensual exploration and deepening intimacy. John and Stella felt more connected than ever, their bond strengthened by the experiences they shared. Each session with Mark brought them closer, pushing their boundaries and opening new doors to pleasure and understand. As the sun began to set and the sky blazed with hues of orange and pink, John and Stella found themselves in the grand salon, sipping wine and reminiscing about their journey so far. The atmosphere was warm and inviting, a perfect backdrop for the deep conversation they were having. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" Stella asked, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. John took a moment to consider her question. "I think about it all the time. This experience has changed us, brought us closer, but I also wonder how we can take this newfound connection and make it a permanent part of our lives." Stella nodded thoughtfully. "I feel the same way. We've learned so much about each other, about our desires and boundaries. I don't want this to end." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mark, who entered the room with his characteristic calm and confident demeanor. He smiled warmly at them, sensing the depth of their conversation. "Good evening," he greeted them. "I hope you're enjoying the evening." We are, John replied, returning the smile. We've been reflecting on our journey here and what it means for us moving forward. Mark nodded, understanding their thoughts. It's natural to think about the future, especially after such a transformative experience. Tonight, I have something special planned that might help you gain further clarity. John and Stella exchanged curious glances. What do you have in mind? Stella asked. Mark's smile deepened. Tonight, we'll be joined by someone new. A guest who has much to offer in terms of perspective and experience. His name is Victor, and he has a unique approach to intimacy and connection. The mention of a new guest piqued their interest. They trusted Mark implicitly and were intrigued by the idea of meeting someone who could offer new insights. As if on cue, Victor entered the room. He was a tall, striking man with an air of confidence and a captivating presence. His dark eyes held a spark of mystery, and his smile was both warm and inviting. "Good evening," Victor greeted them, his voice smooth and reassuring. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." John and Stella stood to shake his hand, immediately sensing his charisma. "The pleasure is ours," John replied. "We've heard a lot about you." Victor smiled. "I'm glad. Mark has told me wonderful things about your journey here. I'm honored to be a part of it." Mark gestured for them to sit. "Victor brings a wealth of knowledge and experience. Tonight, we'll explore a new dimension of connection and trust." They settled into their seats, the anticipation palpable. Victor began to speak, his voice a soothing melody that drew them in. "Intimacy is more than just physical connection," he began. "It's about understanding, trust, and the willingness to explore beyond our comfort zones. Tonight, I invite you to join me in an exercise that will deepen your connection and reveal new aspects of your relationship." John and Stella listened intently, their curiosity growing. Victor's presence was magnetic, and his words resonated deeply with them. "We'll start with a simple exercise," Victor continued. "It's called the stranger's invitation. The idea is to see each other through new eyes, as if you were meeting for the first time. This helps to break down preconceived notions and allows for a fresh perspective." Victor instructed them to stand and face each other, their hands lightly touching. He guided them through a series of deep breaths, helping them relax and center themselves. "Close your eyes," Victor said softly. "Take a moment to let go of any expectations or judgments. Imagine you're meeting your partner for the first time. Feel the excitement, the curiosity, the desire to learn everything about them." John and Stella followed his instructions, their breathing slow and steady. They could feel the energy between them, a tangible connection that pulsed with anticipation. "Now, open your eyes," Victor instructed. "Look at each other as if you've never seen each other before. See the person standing before you with fresh eyes, free from the past, free from any preconceived notions." John and Stella opened their eyes, their gazes locking in a moment of pure connection. They saw each other anew, the familiar features taking on a fresh, exciting quality. It was as if they were truly meeting for the first time, the spark of discovery igniting between them. Victor guided them through a series of questions, encouraging them to share their deepest thoughts and desires. They spoke of their dreams, their fears, their passions. They revealed parts of themselves that had been hidden, buried under the routines of daily life. The exercise was both intimate and exhilarating. John and Stella felt a renewed sense of closeness, a deeper understanding of each other. They laughed, they cried, they held each other close, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. As the night wore on, Victor introduced more exercises, each designed to push their boundaries and deepen their connection. They explored touch, sensation, and vulnerability in ways they had never imagined. The experience was both sensual and profound, a journey of self-discovery and mutual exploration. By the end of the night, John and Stella felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had crossed new boundaries, explored new desires, and deepened their love and trust. Victor's guidance had opened new doors for them, revealing a world of possibilities. As they said their goodbyes to Victor, they felt a sense of gratitude and anticipation. Their journey was far from over, and they knew that the experiences they had shared would continue to shape and deepen their relationship. They returned to their room, hand in hand, their hearts full of love. and excitement. The chateau had become a place of transformation, a sanctuary where they could explore and grow together. As they lay in bed that night, their bodies entwined, they whispered words of love and commitment. They knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, stronger and more connected than ever. And with that, they drifted off to sleep, their dreams filled with the promise of new adventures and the joy of a love that knew no bounds. The morning sun bathed the chateau in a soft, golden light, signaling the start of a new day filled with endless possibilities. John and Stella woke up with a sense of renewed energy and a deeper connection than they had ever felt before. The previous night's exercises with Victor had opened their eyes to new dimensions of intimacy and understanding, and they were eager to explore further. Over breakfast, Mark joined them, sensing their eagerness. "Good morning," he greeted them with a warm smile. "I trust you both had a restful night?" John nodded, his eyes meeting Stella's with a shared look of excitement. "We did, Mark. Last night was transformative. We're ready for whatever comes next." Mark's smile widened. "I'm glad to hear that. Today, we'll take things a step further. We'll explore the idea of embracing the unconventional in your relationship. This involves breaking free from societal norms and expectations, and finding what truly works for both of you." Stella leaned forward, her curiosity piqued. "What do you have in mind?" Mark's eyes twinkled with anticipation. "We'll be introducing another couple who have successfully navigated the path of non-traditional relationships. They will share their experiences and guide you through an immersive exercise." John and Stella exchanged intrigued glances. The idea of meeting another couple who had embraced unconventional relationships was both exciting and daunting. They trusted Mark's judgment and were eager to learn from others who had walked a similar path. Later that day, John and Stella found themselves in a beautifully appointed lounge, waiting for the arrival of the guest couple. The room exuded an air of elegance and warmth, with soft lighting and comfortable seating that invited intimate conversations. The door opened, and a striking couple entered. They introduced themselves as Alex and Mira, their presence exuding confidence and warmth. Alex was tall and charismatic, with a smile that put them at ease. Mira, with her radiant beauty and kind eyes, seemed to radiate an aura of wisdom and experience. "Hello," Alex greeted them, shaking their hands. "It's a pleasure to meet you both. Mark has spoken highly of you." "The pleasure is ours," John replied, feeling an immediate connection with the couple. "We're eager to learn from your experiences." Mira nodded, her smile reassuring. "We're honored to be here. Our journey has been one of discovery and growth, and we're happy to share what we've learned." They settled into their seats, and Alex began to speak. "Our journey into unconventional relationships started several years ago. We realized that the traditional model of marriage didn't fully satisfy our needs and desires. We wanted to explore more, to experience different facets of intimacy and connection." Mira continued, her voice soothing and confident. "It wasn't an easy path. There were challenges, moments of doubt and fear, but we communicated openly and honestly, always prioritizing our love and respect for each other." John and Stella listened intently, their minds absorbing every word. The idea of breaking free from societal expectations resonated deeply with them. They had already taken the first steps towards this new path, and Alex and Mira's story provided both inspiration and reassurance. "Today, we'll guide you through an exercise that has been instrumental in our journey," Mira explained. "It's called the Mirror of Desires. This exercise helps couples to openly express their deepest desires and fantasies, creating a space of trust and acceptance." Alex handed them a beautifully crafted mirror, its surface gleaming in the soft light. "You'll take turns holding the mirror and speaking your desires aloud. The other person will listen without judgment, creating a space of acceptance and love." Stella took the mirror first, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation. She looked into John's eyes, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and vulnerability. "I desire to explore more with you," she began, her voice steadying as she spoke. "To experience new forms of intimacy, to break free from our routines, and to find pleasure in ways we've never imagined." John listened intently, his heart swelling with love and admiration for Stella. When it was his turn, he took the mirror, feeling a sense of empowerment and connection. "I desire to be more open and adventurous with you," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. "To trust you completely and to explore our deepest fantasies together. I want us to grow and evolve as a couple, embracing every part of our journey." The exercise continued, with John and Stella revealing their innermost desires and fantasies. They felt a sense of liberation and empowerment, their bond growing stronger with each word spoken. As the session ended, Alex and Mira smiled warmly at them. "You've done wonderfully," Alex said. "The Mirror of Desires is a powerful tool for any couple willing to embrace it. Remember, the key is always communication and trust." Mira added, "Your journey is unique to you. Embrace the unconventional and find what brings you both joy and fulfillment. There's no right or wrong way, only what works for you." John and Stella felt a deep sense of gratitude towards Alex and Mira. Their guidance had opened new doors, revealing a path of endless possibilities. As they returned to their room that evening, John and Stella felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. They had taken another significant step in their journey, learning to embrace the unconventional and to find their unique path to happiness. In the privacy of their room, they continued the exercise, exploring their desires and fantasies with a newfound sense of freedom. Their connection deepened, their love grew stronger, and they felt more united than ever before. The chateau had become a sanctuary of transformation, a place where they could explore, grow, and evolve together. John and Stella knew that their journey was far from over, but they felt confident and empowered to face whatever lay ahead. As they lay in each other's arms that night, they whispered words of love and commitment. They knew that they had found something special, a bond that transcended societal norms and expectations. And with that, they drifted off to sleep, their hearts full of love and anticipation for the future. The dawn of a new day brought with it an invigorating sense of possibility. John and Stella woke, feeling more connected and emboldened by the revelations and experiences of the previous day. The chateau, with its luxurious surroundings and the guidance of their mentors, had become a crucible for transformation. At breakfast, Mark approached them with a knowing smile. "Good morning, you two. I trust you're ready for today's exploration?" John and Stella exchanged excited glances. "Absolutely," John replied. "We're eager to see what else we can discover." Mark nodded approvingly. "Today, we'll be venturing into the concept of new horizons. This involves stepping out of your comfort zones and trying experiences that challenge and excite you both. It's about expanding your boundaries and discovering new dimensions of your relationship." Intrigued and excited, John and Stella followed Mark to a private lounge, where he had arranged a series of activities designed to push their boundaries and deepen their connection. The room was filled with an array of objects and settings that suggested both intimacy and adventure. "Today's activities will involve a mix of physical and emotional challenges," Mark explained. "These are designed to help you discover new aspects of yourselves and each other." The first activity involved a series of trust exercises. John and Stella were blindfolded and guided by each other through a series of obstacles. The activity required them to communicate clearly and rely on each other completely, reinforcing their trust and deepening their bond. As they navigated the course, John felt a surge of pride and admiration for Stella. Her confidence and grace as she guided him through the obstacles were awe-inspiring. Stella, in turn, felt a deep sense of trust and security with John, knowing he would always have her back. The next activity was a more intimate challenge. Mark led them to a room filled with soft lighting and comfortable cushions. "This exercise is called sensory exploration," he explained. "It's designed to help you explore each other's bodies and senses in new and exciting ways." John and Stella were instructed to take turns blindfolding each other and using a variety of objects to stimulate the senses: feathers, silk, and even ice. The goal was to heighten their awareness and discover new ways of giving and receiving pleasure. Stella went first, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation as she blindfolded John. She started with a feather, gently running it over his skin, eliciting a shiver of delight. She then used silk to caress his body, followed by the cool touch of ice, each sensation bringing new levels of excitement and pleasure. John's turn was equally exhilarating. He blindfolded Stella and began his exploration, using the feather to trace delicate patterns on her skin. The silk brought soft caresses, and the ice added a thrilling contrast. They both felt a profound sense of intimacy and connection, each sensation bringing them closer together. The final activity of the day was perhaps the most daring. Mark introduced them to a concept known as public discreetness. This involved performing intimate acts in public settings while maintaining a level of discretion. The idea was to embrace the thrill of potential discovery while respecting the boundaries of those around them. John and Stella were both excited and nervous about this challenge. They decided to start with something simple, a kiss in a secluded corner of the chateau's garden. The thrill of being outside, with the possibility of being seen, added a new layer of excitement to their intimacy. As the day drew to a close, John and Stella felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had pushed their boundaries, discovered new aspects of their relationship, and grown closer in ways they had never imagined. That evening, as they sat together on the terrace, watching the sunset, they reflected on their journey. "I feel like we've discovered so much about ourselves and each other," Stella said, her voice filled with wonder. John nodded, his heart swelling with love and pride. "We've come a long way, and I'm excited for what the future holds. This journey has shown me that we can embrace the unconventional and find our own path to happiness." They held each other close, feeling the warmth of their connection and the promise of new horizons. The chateau had been a transformative experience, a place where they could explore, grow, and embrace the unconventional. As they drifted off to sleep that night, their hearts were filled with love, anticipation, and a sense of adventure. They knew that their journey was far from over, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. The following day, the atmosphere at the chateau was charged with anticipation. Mark had promised an exploration of the art of seduction, a theme that both excited and intrigued John and Stella. They were eager to learn new ways to seduce and be seduced, to deepen their intimacy and discover new dimensions of pleasure. Mark greeted them with his characteristic warmth. "Good morning, John and Stella. Today's focus will be on seduction, an essential aspect of maintaining a passionate and fulfilling relationship. We'll explore techniques and strategies to enhance your ability to seduce each other, keeping the spark alive." John and Stella felt a surge of excitement. They had always enjoyed seducing each other, but they were eager to learn new techniques and deepen their understanding of this intimate art. The first exercise involved eye contact. Mark explained that maintaining prolonged eye contact could be incredibly seductive, creating a deep sense of connection and intimacy. John and Stella were instructed to sit facing each other, their eyes locked, and to maintain eye contact for several minutes without speaking. At first, the exercise felt challenging, but as they settled into it, John and Stella felt a profound connection. The intensity of their gaze conveyed volumes, their eyes expressing their love, desire, and passion for each other. Next, Mark introduced the concept of sensual touch. He explained that seduction often begins with touch, soft, lingering caresses that build anticipation and desire. John and Stella were encouraged to explore each other's bodies with slow, deliberate touches, focusing on areas that elicited the most pleasure. John started by gently caressing Stella's arms, his fingers trailing down to her hands and back up to her shoulders. Stella closed her eyes, savoring the sensation, her body responding to his touch with shivers of pleasure. She then reciprocated, her hands exploring John's body with the same deliberate, sensual touch. The room was filled with a charged, intimate energy as they continued their exploration. Each touch, each caress, deepened their connection and heightened their desire for each other. The next part of the seduction journey involved the power of words. Mark explained that verbal seduction could be incredibly powerful, using words to paint vivid pictures of desire and passion. He encouraged John and Stella to take turns whispering seductive fantasies and compliments to each other. John went first, his voice low and husky as he described his fantasies and desires. Stella felt a surge of arousal as his words painted vivid images in her mind. She then took her turn, her voice soft and sultry as she whispered her own fantasies, each word heightening the anticipation and desire between them. The final exercise of the day was called the Dance of Seduction. Mark explained that movement and body language played a crucial role in seduction. John and Stella were encouraged to engage in a slow, sensual dance, allowing their bodies to communicate their desire for each other. As the music played softly in the background, John and Stella began to dance, their bodies moving in perfect harmony. The dance was slow and deliberate, their movements filled with desire and passion. Each touch, each glance, conveyed their deep connection and mutual longing. As the dance ended, John and Stella felt a profound sense of intimacy and closeness. The exercises had deepened their understanding of seduction and had brought them closer than ever before. That evening, as they lay together in bed, they reflected on the day's experiences. "I feel like we've unlocked a new level of intimacy," Stella said, her voice filled with wonder. "The art of seduction has brought us closer and deepened our connection." John nodded, his heart swelling with love and admiration for Stella. "I agree. Today has shown me the power of seduction and how it can enhance our relationship. I'm excited to continue exploring this with you." They held each other close, feeling the warmth of their connection and the promise of new experiences. The chateau had become a sanctuary of transformation, a place where they could explore, grow, and deepen their love for each other. As they drifted off to sleep that night, their hearts were filled with love, anticipation, and a sense of adventure. They knew that their journey was far from over, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. The morning light filtered through the curtains, signaling the last day of their transformative retreat at the chateau. John and Stella felt a mix of excitement and sadness as they prepared for their final session with Mark. The journey had been incredible, and they were eager to see what the last day would bring. Mark greeted them with a warm smile. "Good morning, John and Stella. Today, we'll focus on the final transformation. This involves integrating everything you've learned and experienced and applying it to your everyday lives. The goal is to create a lasting, fulfilling relationship that continues to grow and evolve." John and Stella felt a surge of excitement. They were eager to take everything they had learned and apply it to their lives, ensuring that their relationship remained strong and passionate. The first part of the final transformation involved a reflection exercise. Mark encouraged John and Stella to reflect on their journey, discussing the most impactful moments and the lessons they had learned. They talked about the trust exercises, the sensory exploration, the art of seduction, and how each experience had deepened their connection. They laughed and cried, sharing their fears, hopes, and the profound insights they had gained. The reflection was cathartic, reinforcing the strength of their bond and their commitment to each other. The next part of the session focused on setting intentions for their future. Mark guided John and Stella through a series of exercises to help them articulate their goals and dreams as a couple. They wrote down their intentions, from continuing to explore new dimensions of intimacy to maintaining open and honest communication. As they shared their intentions with each other, they felt a deep sense of alignment. Their goals were not just about physical intimacy, but also about emotional connection, mutual support, and shared adventures. They vowed to keep the passion alive by continually exploring new horizons together. The final exercise was a powerful ritual of commitment. Mark led them to a beautiful, secluded garden on the chateau grounds. In the center of the garden was a small, serene pond surrounded by lush greenery and blooming flowers. It was a perfect setting for the ceremony that would symbolize their renewed commitment to each other. "Today, we'll perform a commitment ritual to solidify everything you've learned and experienced," Mark explained. "This ritual will be a powerful symbol of your love and dedication to each other. It's a celebration of your journey and a promise to continue growing together." John and Stella stood facing each other, holding hands. They felt a deep sense of reverence and love as they prepared for the ritual. Mark handed them each a small, smooth stone. "These stones represent your individual journeys. As you place them in the pond, they will symbolize the merging of your paths and the creation of new possibilities." With tears in their eyes, John and Stella placed their stones in the pond. The water rippled, creating beautiful patterns that mirrored their intertwined lives. They felt a profound sense of unity and peace as they watched the stones settle at the bottom of the pond. Mark then handed them a single rose. This rose represents your shared journey. Its beauty and strength symbolize the love and resilience you've cultivated together. Place the rose in the water as a symbol of your commitment to nurturing and growing your relationship. Together, John and Stella placed the rose in the pond. The rose floated gracefully on the surface, a beautiful reminder of their love and commitment. They felt a deep sense of connection and gratitude as they watched the rose drift gently in the water. As the ritual concluded, Mark spoke softly. "You've embarked on an incredible journey together. You've explored new dimensions of intimacy, faced your fears, and deepened your connection. This ritual is a celebration of your love and a promise to continue growing together. May your journey be filled with passion, adventure, and unwavering love." John and Stella embraced, feeling a profound sense of love and gratitude. The chateau had been a transformative experience, a place where they had discovered new depths of intimacy and connection. They felt ready to face the future together, knowing that their love would continue to grow and evolve. That evening, as they sat on the terrace, watching the sunset, John and Stella reflected on their journey. "I feel like we've discovered so much about ourselves and each other," Stella said, her voice filled with wonder. "This experience has brought us closer than ever." John nodded, his heart swelling with love and pride. "I agree. This journey has shown me the power of love and intimacy. I'm excited to continue exploring new horizons with you." They held each other close, feeling the warmth of their connection and the promise of new adventures. The chateau had been a sanctuary of transformation, a place where they had explored, grown, and deepened their love for each other. As they drifted off to sleep that night, their hearts were filled with love, anticipation, and a sense of adventure. They knew that their journey was far from over, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. The last day at the chateau dawned bright and clear, a fitting end to John and Stella's transformative journey. They packed their bags with a mix of nostalgia and excitement, eager to return home and begin the next chapter of their lives with a renewed sense of connection and passion. At breakfast, they were joined by Mark, who had become more than just a guide. He was a friend and mentor. "Good morning, John and Stella. Today, as you prepare to leave, I want to remind you that the journey doesn't end here. The experiences and lessons you've gained are tools to help you continue growing and evolving together." John and Stella nodded, their hearts filled with gratitude. They knew that their time at the chateau had been a catalyst for profound change, and they were committed to applying everything they had learned to their everyday lives. After breakfast, they took a final walk through the chateau grounds. The beauty and tranquility of the surroundings had become a part of their journey, a backdrop to their exploration and growth. As they walked hand in hand, they reflected on the experiences that had brought them closer and deepened their love. When it was time to leave, Mark accompanied them to their car. "Remember," he said, "the key to a fulfilling relationship is continuous exploration and communication. Embrace the unconventional, and don't be afraid to push your boundaries. Your love is a beautiful, evolving journey, and you have the power to make it extraordinary." With a final hug and heartfelt thanks, John and Stella drove away from the chateau, their hearts filled with hope and excitement for the future. They knew that their journey was far from over, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. As they drove home, they talked about their plans and dreams. They discussed how they would continue to explore new dimensions of intimacy, maintain open communication, and support each other's growth. They felt a deep sense of alignment and commitment, knowing that their love would continue to thrive and evolve. The journey had been incredible, and John and Stella were grateful for every moment. They knew that their love was a beautiful, evolving journey, and they were excited to embrace the future together. Their hearts were filled with love, anticipation, and a sense of adventure as they looked forward to the next chapter of their lives. As they approached their home, John and Stella felt a profound sense of peace and contentment. They had discovered new depths of intimacy and connection, and they were ready to continue their journey with renewed passion and love. Together, they stepped into their home, their hearts filled with gratitude and hope. They knew that their journey was far from over, and they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. And so, with hearts full of love and anticipation, John and Stella embraced the future, knowing that their love would continue to grow and evolve. Their journey was a beautiful, evolving adventure, and they were excited to face it together, hand in hand.